You killing me, man. You making me feel too old.
Huh?
You making me feel
You
too old.
mentioned the 90s and you made me feel old.
Right, he said 90s. I said, damn.
I mean, I got 11 years on you, but like, dang, you really
Facts.
did make me feel old in that moment.
Shit.
Starring Niggas Izzy, Molly G, Timothy Ron, Malachi Bines. We on a whole nother page.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Great Apes Cafe. I have a very special guest today with us. As you may know, Mr. J. Diesel is here from episode 0, and my friend, colleague, a good friend of mine, Izzy Israel Swartzen. He been on, what episode he been on?
Oh man, that thing was like episode 4,
It's 4
episode
or 5.
5.
One of the two.
those episodes, yeah.
And I wanted to highlight another guest of mine. His name is Malachi. Was it Malachi Bines?
Bines.
Okay. And I want to highlight something that's really, really important. Is the importance of actually doing something, getting the education, and persevering. And Mr. Malachi's out here getting a book. Is that true?
Yes, sir. It just came out January 1st. Trial of the Omegas, available for Amazon January 1st. It's been out for pretty much that day until now.
Man, I'm just...
A book at
how old?
Well, I wrote it when I was 17.
17. What you was doing when you were 17, Izzy?
I signed a contract to join the military, so like I can't front on the man like
can't front. Okay,
you know.
What about you, Jay?
I was doing a lot of stuff. So
microphone check.
Yeah, I was playing sports. I was partying. I was doing it all. I was doing a little bit of everything.
Yeah,
living his best life.
Yeah,
you
pretty
keep doing
much.
what you're doing. 17. I don't know what I was doing. I know it wasn't publishing books.
I know what y'all was doing. Y'all was what were you going by at that time? Kamikaze.
Oh man, I've been going by many names.
Yeah, Kazi East.
I was just in the music situation.
That was you at 17. Yeah. I mean, still an ambitious front. That, I mean, that of course led to fruition like this, you know. So at least something came out of whatever it is that you were pursuing at 17, you know.
Yeah, but at this time, y'all, it's not about me. My homeboy Malachi got a book. What's the name of this book?
Full title is Hero Spirit, Trial of the Omegas.
And where can I find this book at?
It's available for purchase at basically if you Google my name not Google my name, but if you look up my name on Amazon, it'll pretty much be the first thing that pops up. Cover should look like that. I don't know how clear y'all can see that.
Oh yeah, that's fire.
You. Don't worry, I'll make sure my producer load that information up on the podcast. I got you on that, Chief.
So what's the synopsis for the book? Like what are we going into? It looks like some superhero stuff.
Basically, it's a science fantasy about these superpowered teams called Omegas, and they're sort of endeavoring stopping an interplanetary war between humans and this other race called Primians. And in this book, you basically follow 7 main characters as they uncover hidden truths light years away from home. And it's basically it's supposed to be a saga that kind of follows a slope from the sort of light-hearted nature to sort of a more darker and philosophical route as the story goes forward.
Yeah, definitely. So
sci-fi. So what this genre category is?
Sci-fi fantasy.
Sci-fi fantasy.
Combination of both.
I already like it.
So what are some like inspirations that like kind of gave you the founding ideas of like, yo, I have this idea for this really dope book? Like what is it that kind of like gave you some like really like jumping points, you know, for you to get this book going?
Definitely, I've been being inspired by like several different stories my whole life. Like at the beginning, like growing up in the early 2000s, they were just like we watching like the age of like cartoon, networking was kind of at its peak at that point.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I
remember Cartoon Network.
from any show, from Avatar, The Last Airbender, Danny Phantom, the SpongeBob even, where it was giving me like a plethora of just different forms of inspiration regarding storytelling, character development, world building. And even beyond that, as I grew up, I was introduced to novels like Fahrenheit 451, Hunger Games, Harry Potter, Percy Jackson. So, and then, you have Marvel, of course, X-Men, the Avengers, Fantastic Four, all of that. That was just pretty much built me up as a person, up until this point. And seeing what you could do if you were able to cohesively build a world and characters and intertwine them in a way that's stable and grows with an audience. I saw that can be done, so I figured I might as well just go ahead and do it myself.
I hear that. And what made you persevere?
Persevere? Well, I would say that I created all these characters I created most of these characters when I was like 12. So what made me persevere was more so seeing the possibilities, knowing, I think Stan Lee said something that if he wasn't sure, like even Stan Lee himself wasn't sure, if people really rock the way he was writing Spider-Man and Wolverine and all of that. So he said that statistically, if you like what you're doing, then there's going to be somebody else that rocks what you're doing, and then somebody else, and then somebody else. So I was like, I'm gonna write it the exact way that I want it to be written, and people are gonna rock with it regardless, because that's just statistics. So I was kind of banking on that whole thing, but really, what kept me going was just seeing the possibilities as I got smarter, as I was exposed to different aspects of humanity, philosophy, history. I was like, oh, I can add this in? That part is?
Yeah, getting those elements.
All these ideas, and it just keeps coming and coming and coming.
Wow.
Was there at any point where you felt like you had to take some stuff out, but like begrudgingly, like you felt like you wanted to keep it in there, but it was just too much for that time? Not saying that you threw it away, but it's kind of like something kind of keeping a stash. Because like I'm a writer myself, do like poetry and other things, and so like I understand being in like the creative process of trying to figure out how you want to get your story across in the best way, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, so was there at any point where you felt like you had to like leave some stuff on the cutting room floor, but you wanted to keep it in there?
I don't think I took anything out that I necessarily wanted to keep. I will say that I think when I finished my first draft, I was reading through and I'm just like, I got to the ending, I was like, oh, I hated it. So I went from like the middle onwards and just hit backspace on everything. I rewrote the entire book from like the middle to the end. So like the book now was just like completely different from like the original version. And outside of that, like everything I put in there is just not unedited, but like the original intention behind every story beat, every character motive, everything. Because I purposely left room so that a reader could say, dang, well, okay, this character is at this point in his or her life. Wow. Where do they go from here? And I purposely made the I set the book, in the time frame of my favorite year in recent memory, which was 2008, because that year is awesome. And so
2008.
I wanted that kind of time frame to resonate with people who were even older than I was during that time, because they'll be able to sort of connect with that time period even more than I would, because I was like 6. So
I feel like I'm like,
no, you good. Hey, you good. I still got some questions myself.
I know, but like I want you to know, like I'm really hyped, right now for you, because it really is a wondrous thing to be like at that age and already have at least something figured out, like an idea of something that you love already fleshed out and put into existence. And I think it's a very what's the saying? Telling thing about
very
somebody.
telling. Yeah. It shows that you have self-discipline and motivation. I feel like that's, for any Black man, that's important today more than ever. So what do you think about that? My next question is, did you have anybody basically who associates, whether if they friends, family, colleagues, acquaintances, who probably, they didn't like how you moving, or they moving different and didn't like the fact that you basically out here trying to write a book. You know what I mean?
Did you have to cut some people
Yeah,
off?
to cut some people off, right?
I was just saying, did
Yeah,
you
you
have
said
to
that you had
cut some people off? What
That's a good question. I don't think so. I'm not the type of person to take things. I learned from like a very young age not to really take things personally from people who are sort of trying to knock whatever I'm doing. So even then, it's like there was some type of naysayer. I don't really put much stock into any of that because you have to wait until the finished product is out. Like you really can't judge someone. You can't judge a painting wherever all you have is background. So I mean, I sort of tell people, even if someone were to come to me and say, well, this isn't going to pop up. People aren't checking for this. Like,
hey, there's going to be a lot of windows or doors that close, and the beautiful thing when the door closes, a window of opportunity can open.
It's going to be a window, or like
you could jump out the window.
Doors,
Yeah.
But the positive thing is that the majority of the writing got done when COVID popped up. Like I was only maybe 4 chapters in whenever COVID popped up, and I was like in the middle of not even in the middle, like coming towards the end of my junior year. And I'm like, so when we got out of school, really at the time, I kind of, knocked myself for this part because I was sort of praying that COVID would take us out of school because I was in pre-calculus at the time.
Right.
So I was getting ready to cheat.
I mean,
I'm kind of jealous of everybody on that level.
But you can't front because on an artist level, I understand because it's like, word, I'm getting the STEMI. Well, at that time, like, word, I'm getting the STEMI and I can just sit back and like do what I love for my home and like work on that. So from an artist standpoint, I get that because it's like circumstances are bad, but hey, you're gonna capitalize it on top of it as much as you can. So yeah.
I agree.
Absolutely.
If it wasn't for COVID-19, I don't know if I would have a podcast. If my producer would have helped me out with a podcast. I don't know that. So I agree a billion percent.
My uncle, my mom's brother, my uncle, he has been like my biggest mentor figure.
Shout him out. What's his name?
You said what?
What's his name? Shout him out. What's his name?
His name's Andre McLaurin. He's a journalist. He lives in Myrtle Beach, but he writes for the Charleston City paper. He writes for a bunch of different news organizations in Charleston. His shtick is mostly like combating, pretty much tackling social issues, combating white supremacy, all of that. So he's more of like the Malcolm X writer.
Right. And we need that. We need that today more.
Tell him to write a diss track against Lindsey Graham. That would be the firest thing like he could do. Like a whole diss track against Lindsey Graham and his whole racist stuff in South Carolina.
Facts. South Carolina, definitely.
He definitely tackles, like he goes straight for the jugular, and that was kind of like a big he was staying at my house during the when the pandemic first jumped off. So me and him were both sitting up at 5 o'clock in the morning looking like cavemen, writing his articles. I was working on my book, and we were just just getting it done. Because when I was talking to him about this like early March that year, and I was just like, well, how did Isaac Newton figure all this stuff out with gravity and light refraction and all that? I'm like, oh, he wasn't allowed to leave his house because the Black Plague was going on. I'm like, okay, so we're gonna take that same logic and we're gonna use it right now. If you don't come out of this pandemic with some type of masterpiece, then what did you do?
What did you do? Right. Because what's worse than wasting money is time. You can't get that back. So what you're going to do in this time that you have, you can't go to school, and then you decided to actually finish a book. I think that's awesome, man.
Absolutely. And my thing is, he told me whenever I was, I think it was December, I finished the book in August, so it was December, and I was just so bored. And I asked him, like, should I just start the sequel now? He was like, no. Give it a year. You got to marinate.
Right.
I looked at the future and I'm like, what can I do with this franchise that I'm building right now? I'm like, I want to take it into film and animation. So I'm like, well, I can't draw. So what's the next best thing? I'm like, okay, I can work on writing themes for like the score, the openings, and all that. So really, I've been doing that, a lot of that. Most of my time is writing music for future animations.
That's how you do it.
For this to go into.
Well, bro, if you can't draw, I got to ask about that cover. How did you get that cover?
This artist on Instagram, I can't remember. Hold on, she's an artist on Instagram. I think her name's Jennifer, but she did the artwork for me.
Yeah, because I like that cover too.
Cover was fire.
Mm-hmm.
Cover was fire.
Yeah, she did her thing, man. I spent maybe, that was the thing. I kind of worked over the summer with a hidden agenda to spend all my money on this book.
And it seemed to pay off, or is paying off.
I feel like everybody thought I was gonna, spend my money bullshitting around.
Right, nah, we ain't got time for that shit. Right. Like
I'm gonna fund this thing. So yeah, I spent $180 on this. I'm trying to find.
That's money well spent.
Oh yeah, it's money definitely well spent. Cause imagine how many people blew their money on bullshit, alcohol, food, other extracurricular activities that I can't speak about, but you know what I mean. Yeah. Like, but you actually utilize that money and you invested in yourself. You invested your time and your energy in yourself, and you graduate high school, you utilizing that. Are you going to college? What's your next step forward? I'm throwing these questions at you.
I'm in an early college right now, so really I'm still in high school.
Okay.
Until I finish my associate's degree. After that, I finish that next year. But after that, I'll probably go to UNC, Greensboro, or A&T, one of the two.
Okay.
Or UNCW. It's just like, just whichever. If I get accepted all three, then I'll just probably have to just flip a coin or something.
Hey, that's how you do it. Go with the gut.
When you got that type of leverage on options, I would do it.
I would do it, right. Mm-hmm. Why not?
But, the artist, her name is Polo Blind on Instagram. So shout out to her. Yeah, she does extremely great work. I actually had like a plethora, like she does in a different plethora of different art styles. So I kind of had to choose. I'm like, okay, I got to figure out which one attacks the reader's visual senses. Like when you look at all the other books that have popped off, Harry Potter, Hunger Games, all these other ones, what about the cover makes you think, oh, okay,
right? Oh yeah,
buy this. So I had to be a little creative with that, and I looked at I took a lot of inspiration from. I tried to take a lot of inspiration from certain comic book covers that sort of inspired me to go with that sort of zoomed in, profile type photo. The next cover I sort of laid out the design myself for my next cover actually a couple of weeks ago. So that one's gonna cost me a lot more. I already know it's gonna cost me at least $200. I already know.
Oh yeah, but hey, this 200 is worth it.
You'll be rolling in that bestsellers novel money. You know what I'm saying?
Facts. I'm gonna have to buy that book. Also, I know you gotta watch it. I know you gotta read manga. I know you gotta watch anime.
Yeah, absolutely. I just read the latest chapter of Attack on Titan earlier today.
Don't say nothing. Don't say nothing about Attack on Titan.
Spoilers.
No. I'm like 2-3 episodes behind on the anime. So when you say manga, don't guy that. Don't say shit. Don't say nothing.
It was crazy. I was watching this guy react to one of the episodes, and he was just livid that someone spoiled him. I was just like, these manga.
Yeah, don't do it.
I don't know why. What do you get out of spoiling? What do you get out of that?
You're killing me. Don't do it. Even think about it. No, that's good though. I mean, anybody watch that. I feel like anybody watching that anime, reading manga, doing comic books, and you take some of the energy. I ain't gonna say the work, but the energy and the vibes that you get from what you're reading, and to utilize that in your artwork. Oh man, or in anything you make. I mean, even in my music, I take a little inspiration from anime myself. So
yeah, I took a lot of the vibes that I got from. Really, I really can't even say manga. Well, I really took the vibe, sort of the found family type of vibe. These aren't, your real brothers and sisters, but you're training with them, going on missions with them, you're vibing with them like they are your family. So I'm I got that big vibe from also those vibes from the original Teen Titans cartoon.
The original. I'm happy you said the original because that Teen Titan Go ain't it.
No, that's goat status. Goat status on the original.
Hey, that Teen Titan go ain't it, man. That animation. Shout out to Teen Titans, but that animation ain't it.
Have you seen the show?
Keeping up with like a
the
lot of
actual
the
live
DC
show?
movies that are the animated movies.
The live show?
Yeah, they got an actual live TV show.
No, I didn't know that.
It's fire.
Is it fire?
It's fire.
Well, it's fire. I like it. If you pay attention to like the DC animated movies, they actually done a couple Teen Titans centric movies. You know, in animations, the Teen Titans versus the Judas Contract. So
the Judas Contract. Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
When I saw that, I'm like, y'all had all this time and ability to make this when you couldn't make a new show that was just as fire as this movie. What? Okay, that's how I know y'all bullshit, man.
It's a lot of people.
Yeah, because if you're an animated series, because let's be honest, DC Universe animated movies are 10 times better than they live action movies. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah.
It's more serious.
Come on.
It does got a more serious vibe. I can't even argue that. I
guess that to me that just means that great storytelling, once again, can come from anywhere. Like, it doesn't have to be like the live action movies. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course, mainstream audiences in society are probably not gonna like catch like the animated movies because, you know, they just average moviegoers. When Wonder Woman comes out, bet we're gonna go see Wonder Woman. Justice League come out, bet we're gonna go see Justice League. You know, they ain't spending like the time like us, you know what I'm saying, to really deep in, you know, do a deep dive into it. But like I said, I think that credits the like people that really have a respect for the everything that makes it great, whether it's the animation, the storytelling, the dialogue between voice actors and characters. Like,
easily. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So one of my questions, and sorry to interject, but I just want to know. So, are you writing now, like another book? Are you?
I write. I work on my my. I've been writing some stuff pertaining to sort of foundational Black Americans and our struggle with white supremacy. I've been writing a lot of stuff about that. I've been sparingly working on setting up some foundations for my sequel, not just in story, but, you know, just making and creating new characters and the cover and the plot and everything like that. So I haven't been like, you know, just on the ground, like straight up just writing it, but I'm definitely gearing up to. Right now, I'm really focused on getting some of this this music done.
Is there any? My bad. Is there any? Because I feel like we're living in the age of like a Black Renaissance when it comes to like movies, books, comics, you name it. Like,
I feel like we getting awake, like the woke, like we becoming awoke about that.
No, I don't think it's a becoming woke thing. I think it's like becoming a normalized thing. We're starting to like normalize Black stories and Black storytelling. And my question for him was that because we are now in like a more progressive era where Black stories can be told, is there a certain is there like a certain like Black storyteller that kind of now you kind of take notes from, you know what I'm saying, like Ava DuVernay or Jordan Peele?
Fire.
I would say the most skilled Black writer I can think of would probably be what is this happening here? Okay, so
he fact checking himself. Ain't nothing wrong with that, Chief.
Yeah, for real.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
No, some cut out.
My bad. We had an interruption. I have no idea what happened, but yeah, continue.
It's all good. Jordan Peele, he's done exceptional work, especially when I shame myself every day, but you know, I was dating a white girl the first time I saw Get Out.
Oh no! Hold on, wait a minute. How was the car ride? How was the car ride home after that? That had to have been awkward as shit.
I'm so dead serious.
I'm done.
Well,
how awkward? Was it awkward?
I didn't know what to do. I was 15. I was just trying to get some tail. I wasn't really overly concerned with the movie.
He said 15. I'm trying to get some tail.
So
yeah, that messed up your whole vibe, didn't it?
Down the street from each other, so like it wasn't a car ride home. I like walked slowly.
Oh, okay.
Got you.
That walk was different going back.
You know, fast sprint, but dog, I didn't know what I was getting into. I didn't see any previews or anything. She was like a big like horror movie fanatic, right? So I'm just here to chill, and I didn't realize she puts on Get Out while her white grandparents are here. Her white Midwestern grandparents are here. Okay.
Oh.
When I saw that movie,
that's her making a statement. That was like her rebellious move to her parents. Like
it could have been.
Yeah, he's here.
See, when I have to interject. When I saw that movie, all the my Caucasian colleagues inside the movie theater looked like they didn't want to be there. They didn't look like, they didn't look like they want to be there. I didn't want to be there.
It felt uncomfortable.
I even felt uncomfortable.
I didn't. I was in the theater.
Nah, I'm playing. It was awesome. It was a good experience.
So both y'all know my moms. Me and her went and saw it in the theaters, and like we was literally looking out into the audience into like a sea of white people. Like, yeah, what's up? We dare you.
Gangsta.
That's a movie. This real life.
Yeah.
Facts.
You gotta go for the jugular when it comes to these type of things, man. You can't sugarcoat nothing. You gotta tell them straight up, because if you don't tell them what you mean and how you mean it, then they're just gonna treat you any type of way. So with especially growing up, man, because I've been growing up being a hyper intelligent black kid. That was tough, especially for being around my own people, because writing and reading books and analyzing animated TV shows wasn't the norm. And
right.
It really isn't still.
No.
So being that kind of kid that was, it's kind of.
Or if it is the norm, social media and the channels that be like CNN, right. Fox News, they overshadow and highlight unfortunately, the black man who shot up a store, or one black man who did, as if there's no other race that is doing any type of looting or polluting or any type of negativism.
That's the thing.
So I agree with you, sir. Yes, sir.
Kind of felt like a Huey Freeman, pretty much. You know what I'm saying? Like,
definitely, Aaron McGruder. I forgot his name, but now I remember. Thank you, Aaron McGruder. That guy is a genius.
Oh yeah.
Oh, here you go.
Fact.
Did you just congratulate me on reading? Yeah, because that should be hard. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? You be reading, you know what I mean? And that's cool, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
that's the right. I can't tell you how many times I've encountered that exact same situation where people congratulate me for reading or writing a paragraph. What?
And it was crazy back in the day, in days where we wasn't alive and your grandparents wasn't alive, but your great-grandparents could have, reading was frowned upon. How dare you be black and read? How dare you be black and be, and be aware of really what's going on in the world?
You're exactly right. I was me and my uncle. That man is like, when it comes to just black awareness and the black struggle and being and fighting, combating white supremacy in all forms, that dude is on top. Is on the money every time. We were watching the Free State of Jones. That's a movie that came out. Like 10 years.
With Matthew McConaughey. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
We were watching that movie, and like I think one of the slave girls, she was like, watching like little white kids like learning their letters or whatever. He was like, "Oh, they catch her ass trying to learn."
If I even see you looking at a letter.
Some people, I feel like, and it's not just black people. It's a lot of some people want to remain ignorant.
That's actually what I wanted to talk. That was like how most of my questions kind of summed up, because I was actually I took philosophy, and I've been into philosophy practically half of my
cool
life.
Subject.
I was taking a philosophy class for my college, for my college credits, and a lot of my papers revolved around how if you have a greater understanding of reality and existentialism, that sort of leads to nihilism.
Right.
That deep general intelligence, cosmic perspective, wisdom, and rigorous honesty, that just kind of leads to a complex in which people view you in a negative way. So I'm like,
easily, because negativity, and sorry to interrupt, negativity is easy. It's very easy.
So did you receive like any pushback from your own when it came to like your search for that type of knowledge? Because at least in my experience, I can say from growing up in a very like Christian background, anything that wasn't of Christ that you look for was deemed, negative or right, exactly. And
I definitely can relate to that. I was actually I grew up with like a really close cousin.
Mm-hmm.
And her second family, her mom and her dad are like hyper religious and hyper like almost like to the level of extremism. And so
that's a lot.
But when we grew up, we were just chilling, watching Avatar, pretending we were firebenders and all of that. So we were chilling. But now,
y'all better stop with that devil worshiping mess out there. You better stop doing all them forms out there, summoning demons and.
Or like she was on.
That's facts. I can see that.
Talking about, I'm like, listen, she couldn't read Harry Potter. I'm sitting here telling her like she's talking to me.
Been there.
Not Harry Potter.
Been there.
I'm on the audiobook right now because I drive 18-wheelers for a living, and Harry Potter audio wise is fire. But anyway, I would say that that's crazy.
It is, and I was on the phone with her and I was talking to her about she's kind of telling me, I'm like trying to like tell me that like a Christian's responsibility is to spread the gospel, blah blah. And I'm like I'm not knocking that, but I approach life knowing that there are people that don't rock with the same knowledge deities that I'm rocking with. So as a person who likes to help other people deal with their individual issues, I'm not going to approach you with God. I'm going to approach you with logic and reason first. And then if you bring God into the situation, okay, we can talk about that.
But it also has to depend on how you bring God to the situation. And the reason why I say that, a lot of people, about the whole insurrection situation that happened a few weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people...
Right.
Yeah. So a lot of people justified the insurrection based on religion, right? And I'm like, well, what? I mean, but it's kind of like the history of Christianity in a sense. I mean, if you think about the what was it? When literally, if you don't worship Christ, you would get beheaded. You know what I mean? That happened in Europe before.
That's
what I mean.
Well, that happens even like now.
Even now, yeah.
Because you have countries that are based around a theological government.
Oh yeah.
Or you have those that are very strong-willed about their religion, as we've seen. Like
I feel like that's a folly. We got to be wary of when people I feel like they put God to justify their behavior. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
of course.
It's prime example. I give you a prime example. I think that it should of course it's a sin to kill somebody, but if I was to find myself having to protect my life, I can justify my actions and be okay killing somebody and go to sleep. You know what I mean? Like I can have a peace of mind if I have to protect myself or my family.
Of course, because at the end of the day, it's you and your family over some random bozo you don't even know.
Absolutely. But I do agree with you. I couldn't play Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I had a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I literally had to get it locked up. My aunt wouldn't let me play my Yu-Gi-Oh cards because she was a Christian. Or rather, she was a Jehovah's Witness, and
So,
right, and my thing was just approaching someone with sort of extremist values. I would say that thinking too much can be seen as like a liability that leads to emotional suffering. Like I've encountered plenty of really intelligent people that are depressed as all hell. And I've had my own encounters with that because just the situations in the past that just couldn't shake, like things that you hold on to as a person. Like if you hold on to these things and they just sort of build up and just tear you down from the inside. I dealt with a lot of that, especially while writing my book. In fact, I explained to people that when I was writing my book, it was almost a coping mechanism for this inherent sort of loneliness that I felt in my own mind, because being of the logic and knowledge that I have, that I've managed to accumulate over time, it made me feel like I was the only person thinking the way that I do. And so like these situations and stories that I was able to create were sort of my way of kind of not feeling like I was Not in a sort of like a God complex way of like wanting to control my own world, like I'm the puppet master or
No,
something.
no, but you created your own world out of, because of this sense of nothingness, you created something out of it, and this is your love, like this is your love child because of it.
In a sense that you felt like you had to downplay or dumb down your, I'm not going to say your intelligence or your being based on the surroundings you had with certain, let's say, like other students at school or other colleagues. I understand that situation. That's tedious.
It's
very tedious.
I don't really like to, when people, I was doing math homework, and I'm terrible at math. I will be the first to admit that I'm terrible at math.
You're not worse
I'm
than me,
doing
so I'm
pre-calculus homework. And my aunt is talking to me like, what is all these equations you write? What is it? And my uncle's like, this kid's a genius. He's like, can we just accept it already? This kid is a genius. Let's just move on, okay? I'm sitting here, I'm like, this is all wrong on this paper. So I'm never the person to say like, oh, I'm brilliant, or I'm a genius. I'm not the person to go there and say that. I'd say that I have been fortunate enough to grow up in a place around people that allow me to want to do certain things with the inherent intelligence that I think all people have.
Right.
I'd say that being quote unquote brilliant is sort of like, or in other words, having a greater general knowledge and wisdom of just the universe and humanity and philosophy as a whole. I feel like that's sort of like a curse, because you kind of, in being aware of all of these things, you're sort of bringing all these flaws of society in upon yourself. And in a society filled with more or less morons, you can't help but feel powerless because you can't really change it.
But the thing is, well, yeah, I agree. But you can meditate. Meditation helps with that in a sense.
Well, see, what I would say is like the mark of wisdom, or the true mark of like the path towards wisdom, is self-awareness, or admitting that you know nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. That's why I'm never satisfied. Especially when I was talking to my man over here on the phone a couple weeks ago. He was like, "Oh, I'm gonna spit some advice to you." I'm like, I don't want you to. I'm like, please tell me something, because I never want anybody to feel like they think I'm smart enough to not need their advice. That's not the case at all, because I take every situation, everybody's opinion, everybody's belief.
Oh, I remember that phone call. Yeah. He was basically talking about him making a conglomerate, I believe, of doing animation and stuff. And I said, but when building a team, one must be worried about having pretend gestures of admiration and hidden agendas. That's literally, I live by that. And a lot of people are like, oh, you being paranoid. But if you do that, you will find that selecting your friends, colleagues, acquaintances becomes dramatically more easier.
I think another thing too, and this also comes with like just experience in that realm when talking about like taking your dream or your goal for something and pretty much delegating it or entrusting it to those around you when it's not their dream. It's your dream. And yeah, they're motivated enough to like stand with you. And maybe even still, the reason why that they're also helping you is because they know that first and foremost, they're there, like really there for a friend. Like, you know what I'm saying? They're there because they really do want to support and care. But also on the side, like, this is also their opportunity too to kind of like do something that they love to shine as well. So it can be seen as like a good thing, you know, in that sense.
And there's nothing wrong with having a agenda. If you put somebody on your team, they have an agenda. As long as you're aware of the agenda. It's when it's hidden and it could potentially stab you in the back. Or if they have the fake love, they're not really loving what you are trying to build. They can actually be the weak link in the foundation of you trying to build something. And it took me a long time to surround myself. There've been a lot of people I think, oh, well, this person is good or that person is good. And there was cancer. You know what I mean? There was negative. They had negative ideology. They have negative traits. They probably wasn't motivated like me. I'm very passionate about music. You know what I mean? If somebody in your situation, you're very passionate about writing your book, or in this case, making a conglomerate. If they literally be like, okay, yeah, we do something, they turn around, they don't do it, and then it's over and over and over again. If you get smacked in the face over and over and over again, when are you going to defend yourself? You know what I mean? So my advice to you on that was just be wary of pretend gestures of admiration and hidden agendas.
Just what I would say is like, because you already have the mindset. Like I'm not gonna lie to you. Just like I haven't spoken to you until today, and I can tell that you already are on the right path in terms of like where your mind is at, where your mentality is at. So what I say is that just look for discernment and look for that wisdom in those tough situations if they arise, and really draw from that to like make a very honest and informal decision, because in moments like that sometimes you have to be selfish, like if things aren't going right, and you have to
be selfish,
and you have to be like
be selfish. Human nature is selfishness. Just do it. If somebody, don't be like, oh, this person was but I want them to do, I think they could do good and I might give them another chance. Fuck that shit. If they holding you back, if they being an anchor, you have a gut feeling they being an anchor, cut them off.
Cut
them off.
And it might not even be like a bad thing where like they're inherently doing something intentionally, negative. It could just be that maybe creatively y'all aren't linking up. So it could just be like a mutual split. You know what I'm saying? It could be like, hey fam, like I see where you're going and I respect that. I'm going in another direction, but I still wish you the best,
I did that with plenty of people, and you know who you are. I did that with plenty of people, literally letting them know, hey, I can't go in that direction. I gotta go in my direction and be on my grind. And you gotta think about what's the most important thing. Risk versus reward. And at the end of the day, can you get a peace of mind with the decision that you make? Not everybody can sit at a table where you are and make calculating life decisions.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody can do that. My advice is just limited. I know nothing. I'm a man with nothing. I don't know anything. And I'm always going to have that mindset. I'm an empty cup. But what I do know is that you surround yourself with people with positive vibrations and having the same type of drive you have.
Absolutely.
Because at 18 years old, sir, not a lot of people at 18 is writing books.
No.
That's the beautiful thing. And it's a good thing.
My homie was getting smacked at 17.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Being a black man, 2021, he published a book. Let that sink in for a minute. Because I'm not good at math, but you look at statistics. I don't know what the statistics, are, but I'm pretty sure it's like, whoa.
Well, like I said, we're living in an age.
Wait a minute.
We're living in the age of that Black Renaissance where we're getting like dope young brothers and young sisters like our man in front of us that are already have a firm grasp
college
and understanding.
Courses.
Well, not even just that. Just they already have a grasp and understanding of how modern day society operates. Like they ain't dumb. These kids are smart.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah, my sister is 7 and she's been knowing how to operate an iPad since she was 4.
Ain't that that's
Come on, man. These kids are smart.
That's true.
And kind of go ahead.
Younger kids, younger Black kids especially, I think it's important to expose them to the nature of what it is to be a foundational Black American child, or a foundational Black American at all, because there's going to be, I'm not saying there's definitely going to be, but you are liable, but us as a people are liable to run into some pretty difficult situations in which having greater understanding of how society works can be the sort of tiebreaker between life and death. So Malcolm told me about this time when he was walking with his daughter, my cousin Frankie. She's 6, and they're walking in the middle in Charleston. And I don't know if you guys know, well, I don't know where you guys are based really, but in Charleston, there's a giant statue of, I can't remember his first name, but something Calhoun, but he's like a slave,
he was a
like slave guy, like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, and having to explain it to your cousin, or them having to explain it to them.
Right, she's like, who's that? And he told her straight up, I'm like, that guy did not like Black people. And she's like, what does that mean? He's like, if anybody that looks like you or me, he did not like. She's like, okay, so we don't rock with him. Got it. All right, moving on. Let's go get some ice cream. And that's kind of the thing. I don't expect every Black person to be an activist or a writer.
It should though, because the skin itself is, to me, activism. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
it's existing.
Like it's almost like, even if I feel like, even for me, I've been placed in a situation in a world where I didn't feel like fighting, but I had to fight, and I'm okay with that though.
So the nature of being Black specifically is rooted in survival. Like straight up.
I mean, if you look at the history, if you look at the history of where Black people actually come from, yes.
Well, not even just that. I'm just looking at it just from a full historical standpoint up to modern day. Like, if you really look at what like some of the roots are in terms of like Black culture, a lot of it is rooted in survival. Think about like, and of course, like, we've had artists throughout the years kind of parody these things, like Aaron Magruder in Boondocks when he parodied Soul Food about, hogs, mogs, and chitlins.
Oh yeah, that was a good
and
parody,
stuff like that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That in of itself is like considered Black culinary cuisine. But in fact, like the roots of where it came from is pretty dark.
Very dark.
Yeah.
It's very dark.
And so that's what I'm saying. Things like that become like stories of survival that are just inbred into our culture. So I don't think every Black person inherently like sees themselves as an activist, but they all have like some sort of understanding of what it means to walk around in that skin.
No, I'm not gonna say, I gotta disagree. I disagree.
No,
with that.
Well, I'm saying like not willfully being an activist. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Because like, think about it. Not everybody is like, come on, you got old heads that really can't be out there marching with the young bucks like us. You feel me?
But they
like,
understand it. The history.
But they understand.
That's different. They understand.
Well, also too, they've already paid their dues.
Their dues. Right.
But the point is that you just have some Black folks that really are just trying to like just live their day, like live a normal life. And it sucks.
It can't be though.
And that's the thing.
Because I try to live a normal life for me, and I had a situation at work where I had Trump blasted in my face all the time. And me, I don't even like politics. I don't like Trump. I don't like Republicans. I don't like Democrats. I don't like the whole ideology of politics in the first place. When you have somebody blasting somebody who I feel like is racist, he's racist because the rhetoric that comes out his mouth. Of course it was right. I'm not going to say their name. And you know who you are if you're watching at this. But what I'm getting at is, if I wasn't an activist then, I damn sure was an activist at that time. Because freedom of thought, and of course you saw me at Black Lives Matter.
Maybe I'm having a narrow mind of like definition of activism. Because I'm seeing it as more of like a direct thing where I feel what you're saying. It's like a collective awareness of like, well, we can't just sit by idly anymore. But in that sense,
it's no wrong in that. I know what you're coming from. So there's no wrong in that.
So that would make you like an activist in your daily life. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not combating like, 12 on a large scale, or going to say like the community meeting to voice your concerns over like budget
I was changing the status quo for myself because
that's what I'm saying. Like,
his assumptions was, so you're Black, we automatically assume that you're Democrat. And I'm like, I'm neither. I don't like the ideology of it. He's an activist. Okay. One could argue Malachi is an activist based on a situation that he's a Black man who published a book. Most people would say, I didn't know Black people even read.
I agree with that.
I
agree with that.
My thing is like, I feel like both of you are sort of like on two sides. It's sort of a yin and yang type situation, because being a Black American, a foundational Black American in and of itself is its own form of activism, in the fact that we have over 600 years of evidence that we are the stock of survivors.
1,000 years.
Like, absolutely. What I'm saying is like, of the people that were brought over on slave boats, the people that were left over, after the people that were killed, after the people that jumped off, after the people that did this and that and this, and the people that were all left over.
And 1,000 of years of doing that.
1,000 of years of doing that.
1,000. Exactly 1,000.
Managed to survive, have kids, and those kids have kids, and those kids, and those kids have kids, and those kids have you.
Right.
And scientifically, us being here is an activism, is a form of activism in itself. Me going to the grocery store and getting some bagels around all these white people.
One could argue. One could argue that that's even a form of.
No, he's right. It is. It is. And like I said, like I was looking at the definition of activism through like a narrow lens than a more broader lens. So like that's what I'm saying. So I agree with both of y'all that it is like just getting up and going outside the house is definitely that is.
Oh yeah. I mean, I went to Black Lives Matter marches and stuff like that. Of course, I've been a little bit more aggressive. But yeah.
Foundational Black Americans we are not the running and the hiding and the cowering and the I'm gonna wait till it's over. No. I think us, because we're stayers. Everyone, when I come into contact with, Afro Caribbeans and Afro Latinos and the people who came from other places, and they want to talk crazy about us here, when y'all had to flee there because y'all couldn't deal what was happening in Puerto Rico or Haiti or wherever y'all from, and y'all want to talk crazy about Black Americans here?
Well, I think what that comes from, and the reason why I say is because like I was living in Puerto Rico for a time being, and
that was a part of the African slave trade. Oh, continue.
But I dealt with two things. I dealt with colorism when I was there, and I also dealt with I don't want to say I guess it is racism, but like just stereotypes. Like, but what it is that it's like dividing the unification pretty much. Like you have like you said, you have Afro Latins that really do like oppose American Black, like African Americans, plights, or they give excuses for certain things, even though they themselves come from like an Afro, lineage. But that comes into play because of like colorism or because of like self-hate, things that have been like that come from colonization. There you go.
There we go. Yeah.
Like the curses and the damages from colonization ring all the way to today when we're talking about that type of reaction from our fellow brothers and sisters from the Latin diaspora that are still of like Afro descent.
Not to get off subject, because I know we're getting off a little bit, but I do want to iterate on this on a macro point of view. And if you really think about it, if you really think about it, I feel like, in a sense, if you really look at what's going on, is separationalism. And in that separationalism, you have the whole point of institutionalized history. You have the whole point of separating of your, look at your educational system, for instance. Why does our history have to be combobulated in 1 month? And I get it. I know why it had to, but does it really have to? Why can't it be every month? You know what I mean?
But see, this is the age-old question that has been like brought up since I've been alive, and probably since when the founding of like Black History Month. Black History Month is just a governmental, like it's a federal recognition.
It used to be Black History Week. It used to be Black History Week.
Yeah, it's pretty much just a federal recognition of the plight of African Americans, and so now we're celebrating the those that have contributed to not just Black culture but to the American culture in groundbreaking ways. Now that does not mean that it speaks for the entirety of Black culture and how we discover ourselves.
Right. Oh yeah, I agree. I just don't like the fact that I feel like there's a hidden agenda of creating the importance only in 1 month, which happened to be the shortest month of the year.
I don't want to see that's
give me the longest month of the year.
I don't think
give me 31 days somewhere, right?
See, I don't think that's inherent. Like, I don't see Black History Month as like anything bad. I feel like Black History Month is more so for those that aren't Black, for them to like, then this is their moment to like, at least have sort of recognition.
And this is where I disagree.
But it doesn't excuse them of, doing their research and being aware 365 days.
Right. That's what I want, 365.
But
because I'm Black after the fact.
But see, that's what I'm saying. It's a federal recognition.
Right.
It's not an individual thing. So the government is like, yeah, we're giving y'all a month because we know we did some fucked up shit to y'all in the past.
Right,
and they also do the same thing for people that are of Latin or Hispanic descent.
Oh yeah, anybody with melanin.
Anybody with melanin has like their own month. Month, and I just think that's the government's way of saying, sorry we killed your people.
I mean, it's
and
just
pat on the
terrible. It's
back.
petty. It's separate. It's still on the macro point of view, separationalism. You look at the education, trash. You look at the medical system, trash. You look at every system that there is trash. What you mean? Look at the history. Tuskegee situation, trash. Like it's all just trash.
So new Black History Month tradition.
To me, it's trash.
White folks cash at me money. There's a new Black History Month tradition. If you have a Black friend, cash app them money so that way they can go do work for their people.
I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how I feel about
if
that.
I can't get my reparations, then new Black History. But if I can't get it, like if I just like government is like, sorry, y'all can't get it. All right, so new Black History Month tradition. My cash app is this. Send it to me. I'll make sure I go feed everyone down the block. We're gonna go do some community work. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna take care of the people.
Would you really be appreciative of that? Because the government need to
listen,
recognize.
I don't lose sleep over white guilt.
Me neither. No, I don't.
Okay, I don't lose sleep over white guilt. You know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, like I don't. At the end of the day, I'm being funny. But on a real note, the point I'm trying to get across is that, and I know you're trying to get this too, is that action. You know what I'm saying? Like just some sort of form of action. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, of course, we're celebrating the greats and those that have legacies still to be told, but what are we doing now? What are we doing for like our people currently? And fortunately, I can say that like I can call upon like people that I know personally that are out here doing the Lord's work. And when I say that, they doing the work for the Black folk. You know what I'm saying? Like I can say that, like said, going around delivering water from a Black-owned spring in Jacksonville. This man has been pushing. Shout out to said from Support the Port. This man been out here pushing water left and right for a Black-owned business. If that ain't like some like I don't know, like I get hype over that shit, and I lose my words for it because I can't describe it any other way than beautiful.
I feel like it is. Yeah, I mean that I don't even have no words for that. That's real. That's the word. I just don't like. And back to what I was saying, the macro point of view. I don't like. I don't like the fact that I feel like we just get the dust swept under the problems like swept under the rug, and we're not fixing every institutional problem when it comes to the prison problem. That's the new slavery to me. You know what I mean? When it comes to the education, the medical, even to get your housing. If you look at the redlining, that still actually applies now.
No, it does.
So you got to look at I question the whole system, and the system wants to make Black people in poverty or make them impoverished, both with knowledge and in wealth.
So let me ask this: if the little things were like the positive things, you know what I'm saying, in terms of like the reform that is being done on smaller scales, it may not be being done like a whole countrywide scale.
I wish it was just like that, because how many more people? Prime example. I'm sorry to interject, and I'm sorry to still get off topic. How many more people have to die when it comes to social injustice? Do we need another Trayvon Martin situation to happen? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think not to sound negative. I'm not attacking you, but just think about it. How many?
I get what you're saying. You want like an expedited process,
expeditiously.
Yeah, you want an expedited process. It just, and then I think this goes into like looking into the reality of it, is that even in an expedited process, it's still not overnight.
No, that's true.
Even I'm using prime example. I'm using Trump's impeachment as an example. You know what I'm saying? Like in the short amount of time span that it took for these people to gather and be like, yeah, we're gonna impeach this motherfucker again. Like we gonna toss this red flag out. It took next to no time. So that lets me know that if you're really motivated by something, you really want to get done, it can get done. It might not get done overnight, but it can get done like in a time frame of like a month or whatever. But I feel what you're saying. Like there needs to be some sort of oversight or some sort of something that can be done to kind of like speed everything up. But I also feel like we get so fervent and so like passionate about it. Not in a bad way, but because we love it. We want to take action, but we sometimes lose in our passion. We lose sight of the real world logistics. You know what I'm saying, and what we can do to like make it better.
That's true, because you have a lot of people, I feel like, who are in a sense acting like jellyfish, just going with the flow. And apparently, Malachi, that's what I put you on this podcast, because you're not a jellyfish. You decided not to go along with the flow and to write a book, and I feel like that's important. I want to highlight it. Shout out to Chris from
I do have one question, and this does pertain to your book. Before we continue,
Chris from Creators Pronounce. Shout out to Chris.
Oh yeah. Shout out to Creators Pronounce. Shout out to shout out to all them.
Oh yeah.
Big ups. But my question to you, since we've been talking kind of like about dealing with ignorance from a society standpoint, what about your book do you think can address like certain things that some people, white or otherwise, who are normally ignorant to? What are there some things in there that kind of like shed light or give them like an understanding? Like, is there like something in your book or things that you've done to try and educate somebody, not and try to get them to like see something they wouldn't normally see?
Definitely, that was kind of like a very structural basis of the story, was that these people with these powers, or are this era in which these people with these superpowers sort of shifted the power dynamics as far as what racism looks like when they were first, discovered. And in the storyline, that's 1945. So that's during the end of World War II. That's during the end of World War II, and we're stepping into an era like the Cold War, in which two of the greatest superpowers on Earth are about to blow each other off the face of the earth.
Global espionage.
So, I took the concept that instead of nuclear weapons, instead of a system, a society in which Black people are on the bottom of the totem pole, now you have these people of any race that have these powers, and now the government, the United States government, or whatever government that they were born under, their primary objective is not to discriminate against them and use them based on what their skin looks like. It's based on what's in their blood, what's in their DNA.
Yeah, their powers.
So the point is to take these kids at a young age. I threw the philosophy of child soldiering in there. Take these kids at a young age, foster them in the government without their own parental units, family guardians, and make them view the United States government as mommy and daddy, and take them and use them as this universe's version of nuclear armaments. Because if you have a baby that as soon as it throws a tantrum, it can blow a building up, that's probably more valuable than a bomb.
It's OP.
Baby laser
I got a 1 year. I can't imagine he just get a temper tantrum and the whole house just kaboom. Damn.
That would be terrifying.
Oh yeah.
And but it also adds, because in the real world, there are parents that already can't handle kids as they are. So what happens when you have those same parents that have the kid that can melt you if he gets upset? So what do? You're going to give this kid to a government institution, otherwise known as an orphanage.
I like that.
What does he do?
I like how, that's They got some real world elements.
Child soldiers.
Yeah. That's now. That happens. That's happening right now.
Yeah,
definitely.
So
then I took elements from the Cold War and the Vietnam War in that, the sort of espionage, sort of high stakes elements of using these kids, of especially the real world aspect of, United States and the Soviet Union were called superpowers. Well, I'm like, these kids have superpowers, so that kind of works. But in the Vietnam War, you had babies with bombs strapped to them, handing them to guys in helicopters. Oh, boom, they're dead. Kids with AK-47s running around mowing people down. Like, it's real out there. And I think that a big point of this was to illustrate that these teenagers are, for one, undeveloped minds. They're put in situations in which they're used specifically for what they can do. And that's exactly what happens in the Black community. Our ability to create, our ability to, the fact that we built this nation from scratch shows our outstanding ability, especially when pressure is applied, to create extraordinary things.
Right.
You have to look at the numerous Black icons that we have that came from a position of do or die. I was explaining this to my younger sister the other day, that the reason that we have so much mediocre things coming from just, creators in general, not just Black creators, but creators in general, is that they're not in a position of do or die. I think it's a position of comfortability that limits our ability to create. So
I agree. Complacency is the word. Yeah,
and that applies to the civil rights movement as well. When Martin Luther King got shot, Black people took to the streets and started setting shit off. So, and then next thing you know, you have a Civil Rights Act and an Immigration Act and all of this. So when you take a look, it's not the hugs and the holding hands and the kumbaya and the singing songs and the twerking in front of the police and all this.
There's two sides to the coin.
It's done. When you start going out and busting heads and blowing shit up, that's when they start paying attention to you. And that's what happens in this book is when they decide, oh no, y'all not going to use us. No, that's done. When these kids decide to take upon their own initiative to do the right thing, what's right for them in the world as a whole, upon their own initiative, not being used as weapons, then the government gets antsy. They're like, oh, we got to start signing bills. That's what happens in this in the story in the past, is that a government act was initiated to sort of regulate the superhero population, the Omega population, in that, okay, let's start pushing them to the side.
You're killing me. Give me too much information. I want to read the book.
For real, like
giving me too much information.
He been sold me on it.
I got sold. Where can I find this book at?
Once again, for the people at home.
It's on Amazon.
For the people who don't know, right. For the people who don't know where to get your book, I want you to. What's the name and where can we find this book?
The book is called Hero's Spirit: Trial of the Omegas. You can find that on Amazon, and I'm pretty sure you can find it on Barnes and Noble and a couple other websites I can't exactly remember, but mainly Amazon.
Okay,
nice. Is there a character that kind of embodies the best of you the most? Like, is there a specific character in the novel that kind of like speaks to you personally over some of the others?
Well, yes, I kind of I'll take you back like a decade ago, but like the two characters that I sort of connected to and attached to the most were probably Spider-Man and Iron Man, and their journeys and their sort of Spider-Man's a kid, disenfranchised smart kid that kind of just makes the best out of a bad situation and decides to do the right thing. Iron Man is this top of the totem pole rich guy who under a certain amount of trauma and stress decides to take this terrible situation and use his abilities to sort of right his wrongs.
And richness.
And so I kind of took those two, character aspects, and I'm like, okay, I created this character, really two characters because they're brothers in the story, but Jackson Locke and Hunter Locke, but they're both they're both foundational Black Americans, but they were born under privileged families, and they're super smart. But Jackson Locke, like a part of his story is the fact that he was one of he grew up in the 90s, and I kind of was inspired by like my mom and her sisters, because that was kind of their time growing up. I'm like, okay, well, society, like there were plenty of.
You killing me, man. You making me feel too old.
Huh?
You making me feel
you
too old.
You mentioned the 90s, and you made me feel old.
Right, he said 90s. I said, damn.
I mean, I got 11 years on you, but like, dang, you really did make me feel old in that moment.
Shit.
Right. I appreciate those times, especially when I read about the 90s and 80s all the time, and I like to read enough history to make me feel like I was there. So I never want to alienate somebody because of like the era they were born in, because more times than not, I want to like learn about that time. Like, what was your perspective at that time? So there were like a bunch of pop cultural Black icons coming up and, staying up in the 90s. So I take this character, I'm like, okay, so he grew up in that time where he was like the biggest superhero of his day. He's a Black kid. The entire country looks to him as like, this super popular, iconic person. But so that's where the ego comes in. He knows that he's the most brilliant thing, to have ever been born. He knows that, but the ego comes in whenever trauma and starts to affect his personal life. His parents get killed. His girlfriend dies in an accident, tragic accident. So that sort of shifts his mindset in a way that my mindset was definitely shifted in some pretty tragic things that happened to me, and both to me and because of me, that shifted my mindset. So I took that aspect of my life and I'm like, okay, this situation changes his life, and that, okay, he has to foster in a better generation than where he came up, because he allowed hubris and egoism to take hold, and that just made him made his grip loosen on what was really important.
Well, I must say, I'm ready to read your damn book. I'm ready to read it. Before I start wrapping this up, I want to let you know that I'm going to put the link on where to buy and purchase your book at on the bottom of my screen here on Great Apes Cafe. And also, I will be buying the book. So when I get off this camera, I'm going to buy the book expeditiously.
Hey, Paycheck Kid,
got to get the book right there for Amazon. Before I wrap this up, anybody else have any more questions? Do you have any questions before
I ain't got no questions, but I just want to say, man, you are a very entertaining, smart young man. I like listening to you. Like you
got the juice and the sauce.
You got the juice
for real.
And the sauce, yeah. The sauce lasts longer. That's both. You got both, man.
I don't got any questions, but I do got a little bit of like advice. I guess you call it old head advice, since I am like a decade ahead of you. I'm reaching old head.
I'm making me feel old.
I'm a year away from 30, bro.
I'll be 30 March 26th.
I'm about to reach old head status, man. It's a wrap after that. Everybody better start calling me Unc. But just the advice I would say to you is that I would give to you is that when it comes to like networking, like I know that's kind of hard given the circumstances we're in, but like when you do come out of this pandemic, it seems like you already got like people like your uncle, you know, in your corner. You already got people that's backing you, you know what I'm saying? Just make sure that when you go out there, just sell yourself, but not in a way where you're selling your soul, if that makes any sense. You feel me? You know, like know your worth and let people know like how many stacks you worth, you know what I'm saying, and stand on that. And when you do like put your feelers out and start, you know, meeting a bunch of people, network with the ones that you know are they see the value in your dream and want to help you achieve whatever your goals are.
Yes, sir. That's perfect advice, and I definitely appreciate that.
Hey, no doubt, man.
And hit us up. Hey, if you need any help, if I don't know something, I know a lot of people. And somebody will know something. My producer, my engineer, shout out to DJ Barbarian on the production. He's a tech genius, so he knows a lot of people himself. So if you ever need help, hit us up. You got my contacts. You got any questions for me before I start wrapping this up?
I mean, well, I had a few questions prepared, but we kind of went off on a tangent on the entire nature of reality.
Okay, so wait a minute. We gotta let him.
Yeah.
Let go. Come
Producer, just give me about 5 more minutes on this, Chief. I know you kind of little.
But
mad about it.
Dang, I kind of had 2 versions of questions. I sort of went from as far as like a pop cultural basis. I was going to ask you on sort of your opinion on the where Attack on Titan is going. Then I was going to go on the philosophical route and ask you about does intelligence equal being miserable?
Not the Attack on Titan. Look, let me tell you something about Attack on Titans. First of all, I know for a fact the manga basically is finished. Is it correct?
No,
is the manga finished? The manga is finished, right? It's not. Okay. So what I'm getting at is I know you know more than me on that topic. I don't want to know that. But nah, Attack on Titan is actually dope. I don't
know what your opinion on it is.
I feel like
it's sad right now.
It is.
It's kind of sad.
But it's fire though. He out revenge, my friend. It's out here. He making sure he getting his revenge.
How far are you in the season right now?
I'm like 2 or 3 episodes behind on the new season.
You better than me. I'm in season 3.
Okay, so what's the last thing? What's the last thing that's happened from your perspective?
The last thing that happened was I saw Jaeger. He basically. I'm trying to think.
Oh, I don't care. Like,
no. Oh, yeah, I ain't gonna spoil it for him.
No, I don't care.
I'm trying to say it in a way without spoiling anybody.
No, you good? Because I'm gonna forget it.
I've seen him prepared to fight. Like he just basically had a sort of an ambush tactic. That's where I'm at.
Oh yeah, when he exploded out of that building.
Yeah. That's where I'm at. That's all you need to.
Okay.
That's all I want to.
I know where you're at. So like that part was
fire.
Probably Yes, the best I've never seen as far as shonen anime and manga go. I've never seen a protagonist that wanted more smoke than Eren in that moment at that time. I've never seen it before. Ever.
I could think some other anime. However, yeah, at that time, and yeah, he want all the smoke. No, he want the smoke. He want everything, the fire, the flame, everything.
But see,
his whole mindset was just like, you know what? I get it. Like when he kind of squashed the beef that he had with Reiner, and he's like, you know what? I get it. You had to do your thing. Well, I'm about to do my thing. So,
but their background was one thing, and this is why I like anime. Their background always justify their behavior. I mean, you look at the background of the characters. It's like,
hold on, listen.
I mean, think about Naruto with Pain.
I'm agreeing with you.
Pain had a justified reason to destroy the village. I was all for Pain. Like what? He came into the. I'm just giving you an example because I'm trying to get off. I ain't trying to get too much detail about Attack on Titan, but Pain destroyed the village hidden in the leaves. And when you look at his background, I'm like, shit, they deserve it.
All right, so
an eye for an eye.
This is an interesting turn on it, but Tanjiro from Demon Slayer is an interesting take on when my man got his mind set on something. This man was in the mountains for 2 years. His head, like to slice a boulder. This man was in the mountains for 2 years.
The animation is fire, by just to let you know. The Demon Slayer animation. I saw the Japanese version, and the fact that I'm rewatching it just to see the dub, it's like, yo.
Look, and talking about dudes that are with the smoke, and Inosuke is with the smoke 24/7. He don't care who it is. It could be Tanjiro, it could be Zenitsu. He don't care. He's like,
he don't care.
Oh, word, you think you better than me? Oh, wow, whatever you're best at, I'm about to go 10 times harder on that. What's up? Like,
now what's that anime with the best opening though? Elfen Lied?
Nah, Elfen Lied is
that opening. I'm sorry,
but that's
bloody.
But it's like church choir stuff.
But you talking to somebody who's in chorus class. You remember in high school, I was in chorus music.
That's fair.
Shout out to Miss Levin. But anyway.
So most fire anime opening. What's your hot take?
Elfen Lied.
I feel like the silhouette opening for, I think that's like the 16th opening in Naruto Shippuden. That one is probably the one I go back to the most because music-wise and story-wise, it sort of just shows you like, okay, they're in a very dire situation, but we're also getting turned up because they're in a dire situation. Like this is
was that during the Shinobi Wars?
You saw what?
Was that during the Shinobi Wars? Was that opening? Yeah. Okay, all right, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I think there was like one clip when Madara is like breakdancing and dodging shuriken and all. I'm like, oh.
That's okay. Madara, that's my dude. Pain is my dude. I get personal. I took some like information from Pain and applied that to real life tactics. Pain is my dude, all right?
Nah, I'll tell you an anime character that I kind of like. I really recently got inspired by Joe from Megalobox. I don't know if y'all.
Hey,
yeah.
I seen that.
My man's. Come on, how hard you gotta be to step into a ring with no mechs?
Yeah.
It's just these hands.
Fire.
And you going up against dudes that got like pistons and shit all up down their arms. And my man just went in there, is like, yo, I got these hands. If you want this smoke, what's up?
Those would really be the best characters, though. The ones that have like no powers and are just rocking people left and right, like Rock Lee or Levi.
Oh yeah.
Whoever. Ones that have no powers at all. And are just fighting like Zoro from One Piece. Zoro's my favorite character because he wants
One Piece is brilliant. That's one of my favorite anime. It's long as fuck, but it's
one of these days I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna watch all them episodes. One of these days. I did it with Fairy Tail, so it can be done.
Nah, but you gonna sit. It took me.
There are certain stories that have a decent stopping point, like Game of Thrones for one. If you were to stop at the end of season 6, you wouldn't need to really watch the rest from my perspective. Like from a storytelling perspective, some stories have a point where you can say, okay, this is a good wrapping up point.
True.
And I take that as far as like with One Piece, I would say like the end of like the Marineford arc would be a decent wrapping up point. If you wanted to just, okay, I'm not watching the rest of it. This is too much. I'll wait until it's all over and then spend the next 80 years watching the rest.
Listen, I'm gonna be watching like an episode a day for the rest of my life, trying to catch up to One
Pretty
Piece.
much.
I promise you. I'm gonna be collecting Social Security.
He's like, I ain't gonna lie, I'm behind. I'm probably behind on One Piece exactly probably 10 or 11 episodes on purpose. On purpose.
I don't see how y'all can do it.
I catch up. I'm watching.
I'm late to it though.
Like 5, 6, 8, 7 episodes, and then I'm like, all right, take a break.
I'm just rewatching.
He been rewatching. Hey, he been rewatching since high school.
Yeah, I just rewatching shit.
I'm just trying to catch up on all things fire.
I like to revisit. Really, my favorite one to revisit is probably Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah, I'm watching Brotherhood for the first time.
Oh,
yeah. That's
boy.
Yeah. I'm actually
You gonna get to some parts and you gonna hate some people. That's all I'm gonna say.
I mean,
you gonna hate some people.
I was just is that it has so many parallels with real life society involving racism, classism.
Oh yeah,
and
military state. Yeah.
Oh yeah, easily.
Everything going on right now in real life, then you'll really rock with what's going on in that story.
That's why I fucks with anime, just like you, Chief.
So, do you like Lieutenant Hughes then from Brotherhood? To the folks at home. To the folks at home.
No, I don't like you, Lieutenant Hughes.
You know who Hughes is, right?
Hughes is the dude with the mustache, right?
Nah, Hughes is the one that got the photo album of his daughter.
That was sad.
Okay, so you did pass that part.
Yeah, that was sad as hell.
Cool. I had to make sure. I had to make sure. That's why I was asking.
When I saw that, I'm like, yo, what?
That was tragic.
I mean, I have a child, so I'm being a parent. That really is like, oh.
You got to take a day off for that. That's like you turn that off and you just like.
Yo, I felt that. I was
man.
It's one of those things though, because that show is sort of like the anti-Dragon Ball. In that Dragon Ball has like you die, okay, well let's just find these Dragon Balls and wish me back real quick. But like Full Metal is just like you die.
You die.
You even attempt to bring man back.
But it's not gonna be it. You might come back as they try to bring you back, but it ain't gonna be it.
Like, it's like one of those stories that has to make you kind of come to terms that death is just death.
Death is death. It's not like Naruto or Dragon Ball Z and something like that. We could get the Dragon Balls and wish you back to life. Yeah, you're right.
Naruto is kind of like it balances on like a weird line because people getting their eyeballs ripped out and being perfectly fine. You know what?
Man, deaths in Naruto.
Rip my eyeball out. I probably just want to kill myself at that point.
Deaths in Naruto's a moot point because they didn't have to kill Asuma Sensei, man. They didn't just have to.
Really? All right. Shout out to my Asuma heads.
Me.
Do you feel like it was necessary? That was terrible.
No, it was not. Okay.
Who you more mad at? The dude with the Byakugan. What's my homeboy name?
It wasn't. Oh, you talking about
Neji?
Was it Neji? Like to me, Neji or Asuma? Neji.
I'm so
Neji. I cried with Neji. Asuma's like, all right, I'm mad you died. You a Saratobi and you died?
Okay, all right. So I'll go with Neji I will go with Neji on the consideration that we got to see Shikamaru actually like
he sucks in Boruto.
Fuck some shit up.
Sucks. And have you been watching Boruto?
I don't watch Naruto.
No, I let Naruto end. That's why I was supposed to.
Yeah. Sometimes some stories, I ain't gonna lie, Boruto, you okay. Anyway, what's the next question? So I can start wrapping this up. Our producer get better.
Definitely, I wanted to ask, what's your idea on growing up as like the intelligent black kid and being sort of like, do you think intelligence, like hyper intelligence, leads to being more nihilistic and miserable throughout life? Do you think like there can be a balance between being a happy-go-lucky person and being aware of everything that's wrong and not being able to fix it?
Yes. I think you could, as long as you have the capability of realizing that we not as a species as important as we like to think we are. We think that we are at the center of the universe, and the universe is incomprehensible. I mean, think about it. Really think about it. In your lifetime, in our lifetime, do you think we would have a significant impact that would change the universe on a universal level? No, we just dust on a planet. So like for me, I'm like my problem is I don't worry about a lot of shit I should worry about. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, well, if a meteorite comes right now and destroy us all, then I feel like maybe,
those kind of things that I think about. I'm like, at the end of the day, like there are like I can count on one hand of a plethora of things that could wipe us all out, and there would be no proof that we were ever here to begin with.
Right.
Like you got to think. I was talking to my uncle about Elon. My uncle loathes Elon Musk. My uncle hates Elon Musk more than Donald Trump. So I'm talking about when Elon Musk is talking about the Neuralink and the SpaceX and trying to communicate with aliens and this and that. And I was like,
hey, it's like the Matrix, right? But I have to say, like for me, how I deal with I'm first of all I'm from Brooklyn, New York, and I have to know, like for me now, I always knew how to like untether, I guess, from the child into the future as an adult, untether myself from things that I shouldn't worry about. You know,
I used to tell him, like, with I did a lot of research and a lot of research papers on artificial intelligence. I actually wanted to work with a lot of people involving that because I had some video game ideas, but that's not here nor there. Artificial intelligence is something that's coming regardless of what you do. There is nothing that you can say to Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates. There's nothing that you can say to them. I don't care how morally sound it is, how philosophically knowledgeable it is. There's nothing that you can tell them to make them go, okay, I'll stop doing all this research that cost me millions of dollars. Okay, I'll stop. You're right. We'll stop doing all this. I'm like, no, come on. That's the thing. I feel like people have to kind of, not in a sense, get down or lay down, but sort of prepare your mind. If Black people can prepare our minds to combat white supremacy, then we can prepare our minds to be in a state in which white supremacy isn't the most powerful thing that can take over. Like, I think artificial intelligence is probably one of those things that is sort of like, once it's uncontrollable, you're summoning the devil.
But some can argue we are already living in that time of AI.
Well,
but that's the thing. I feel like once you get into a state of where it's general artificial intelligence, I feel like most of the AI that we have is pretty narrow. But once you get to a point called the singularity,
oh yeah, that's right.
Once we get to
our robot,
in which it's out of our hands, it goes in the its knowledge kind of compounds on itself exponentially when it's basically taking all of human existence knowledge and having that amount of development in seconds. You can't use the same methods you use to combat your regular threats.
Right. Let me interject. What you think, Chief?
So,
microphone.
In terms of being like smart, like being like that smart Black kid, or being that intellectual, or having some sort of awareness that possibly your peers didn't have for you, like my phase of like nihilism or looking at the cosmos differently kind of came after high school, came like sort of like towards my college age, or in that time of my life where I definitely was more independent. I wasn't as structured in terms of like a schooling institution. So I definitely was doing a lot of self discovery. And like I would discover things, and that shit would make me mad. Like I would get pissed off, and a lot of it were things that were out of my control, or I would see things that were more on a macro scale or more on a cosmic scale that definitely was out of my reach, and it would anger me. But it was kind of like that nihilist phase for me wasn't a final point. It was like just an understanding of how to govern my emotions when confronting these sort of things. Because to me, I am in full understanding and awareness that I have no earthly control over anything that is not my job, my home, and my bank account. You feel me? And those around me in my community. So with that being said, like I pushed past that phase of nihilism and was like, well, even though I can't control these things, but I understand that they're there, doesn't mean that I still don't believe that there is something bigger than us, for us to all be a part of, to take a part of. And
you ever hear of that poem? I can't remember the author's name, but you ever hear the poem, "Do Not Go Softly Into That Good Night"?
Yes, I do.
I feel like that's kind of a principle of how people should sort of live. People who have that greater knowledge should live, knowing that we don't have any cosmic importance, and knowing that we really don't have any type of semblance of control outside of our job and our schooling and this and that. We should sort of continue to exist. I'm stealing a quote from Nick Fury, but we will, until such time as the world ends, we will act as if it intends to continue on.
But at the same time, I agree to a certain point, but also disagree, because a part of me also feel like there's a butterfly effect in a sense.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Well, I think that's the other side of the sword. Is
That's
that
the other
even
side,
is
yeah.
that even though we can't affect the cosmos on a grand scale, we're still like a drop in a bucket that creates a ripple,
Oh,
or a
yeah,
drop
that
in the
ripple
ocean
effect.
that
Oh, yeah.
creates a ripple on something. It may not be on a cosmic level, but we're still doing it on this level. Like, you know,
Right,
it's
right.
pretty much like on the same comparing. It's like how you would measure time. Like
Right.
to God, time is like no construct. To us as humans in this existing reality,
linear, yeah.
there's certain constructs to it. But that's why I said like I look at what can I do for my folk in the here and now. What can I do to advance myself and my black folk and anyone that's in my circle around me, so that way I can benefit from my time and they can benefit and everyone can benefit.
What you
from
think,
the time.
Jamal? Sorry to interject. What you think, Jamal?
I agree.
You agree?
Yeah, 100%.
Any more questions? My producer's getting you good. He's turning red like a tomato. You should see him.
My man is right in the sense that we kind of inch away towards people whose minds aren't necessarily in the present. Like when I say my uncle hates Elon Musk, he hates him with a passion. That's probably because he can't really conceptualize the fact that Elon Musk's mind, or anybody of that same area that he's in, his mind is not in the present. He's not worried about what's happening right. This man is living in 23,000, after right now. So that applies to children too. When kids we usually kind of shy away from letting kids' minds wander into wherever they're going. And I think that we should kind of stop, halting kids' imaginations for that, because,
yeah, that's definitely a nurture problem. Oh yeah, you're right about that. That's a nurture problem. I feel like a lot of parents like their children to be adult-like too early, instead of them using their imagination a little bit more. I do agree with you. And me being a parent, so I can actually say that now. It feels weird. I can say that a little.
With black parents especially, like my mom was adamant on trying to like get me into basketball and this and that, and get me into liking Jordans and all that. I'm like, I'm over here drawing spaceships, man. Like, can I just draw my spaceships and worry about the cosmos and whatever, and just, I'm not worried about no basketball, man.
Facts.
Watch Neil deGrasse Tyson documentary. I'm not watching no damn football.
That's how you do it. Hey,
real.
So I'm gonna make sure I wrap this up. Before I actually wrap this up, I want to, what is your name and what is your book titled? One more time for me. I know I asked twice before. I want one more title, Chief.
It's called Hero Spirit Trial of the Omegas. You can find it on Amazon. Just search up either the title or my name, Malachi Bines.
Malachi. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Great Apes Cafe. My producer is mad at me because I went over my time limit, but I had a good, wonderful fucking conversation with my homeboy Malachi, and he's have a book coming out. Like I said, you can find it wherever you can find it at. I'll make sure I have it on the bottom of the screen. And that's all. Anybody got any more questions? I forgot. My producer don't want no questions. This is Great Apes Cafe. Deuce. Malachi! Finally, yes. Finally.